a live stream for July 3rd, 2017. For everybody watching from the US, happy July 4th. I'm Chris.
I'm Topher.
And today we're going to be talking about travel vocabulary, frequent flyer lingo. Wow. And I've got this playing on my laptop down here too, so let me make sure that you don't hear me twice, because that wouldn't be very good. Okay, so in this travel video, I'm going to have my co-host Topher here, and he's going to answer all of your questions if you've got any questions as we go. So I'm going to go through a few of these travel vocabulary items, and then we'll go ahead and take questions. And I don't know, this YouTube is saying it's a very bad connection. Can somebody let me know how the stream actually looks for them? Does it look okay? Does it not look okay? But we'll go ahead and get started. So Topher, what is our first word?
Direct versus non-direct.
Direct versus non-stop, actually. So, and we have this great whiteboard here that actually, I can fix that. So, direct versus non-stop. So, in the world of travel, if you're booking flights, you'll often see flights that are direct flights, and then you'll see flights that are non-stop flights. And an interesting thing is that these are actually different types of flights. A direct flight is one that can actually stop places. If you want one that doesn't stop en route, then you have to get a non-stop flight. A direct flight can go San Diego to New York via Dallas and stop there for a while. So if you want the one, again, that doesn't stop, make sure you look for non-stops. I'm going to have some other animals that are joining us during this podcast. This is one of our larger pandas right here. And he's pretty comfy to lie down on. And again, if you have questions for Topher, because Topher isn't usually part of these streams, please go ahead and ask him. All right, now Topher's going to help me write on the whiteboard the next word. So before I go on to that one, I also want to mention that whiteboard that I'm using. It comes from a store called Daiso, and Daiso is like a Japanese 99-cent store. You can see this pen has a bunch of Japanese on it. I was looking for whiteboards to buy on Amazon, and like every whiteboard on Amazon was $6 or $7, but Daiso, everything is $1.50. So big whiteboard, and it comes with these cute little pens that have foam tops on it too. Only the best products made in Japan. All right, so we're gonna go on to word number 2. Topher, what is our second word?
Thru Passenger.
Okay, so our second word is through passenger. So you'll often hear something like through passengers can stay on board, or through passengers, please don't get off until the other passengers get off. And a through passenger is a passenger that's going to stay on the plane on one of those direct flights. See, they're going through from potentially San Diego to New York. And I'll give that back to Topher. So I have to pull up this chat window here that kind of disappeared when I clicked something. Chat, live chat, pop out chat. Okay, Brandon Torres, thanks for joining. Topher is looking festive. He's got his 4th of July finest on Independence Day. It's one of Topher's favorite holidays, fireworks, and all the sort. And David M., good evening. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we are on to our third word. And Topher, what's the third word?
Connection.
Okay, the third word is connection. And so we talked about direct flights, and we talked about non-stop flights. A flight that's a direct flight doesn't technically connect. A flight that's a connecting flight is one that actually you get off the plane, and that's a flight that you, domestic-wise, typically have less than 4 hours to connect. Something a lot of people don't know is international connections can actually be up to 24 hours. So if you're going to, say, Beijing, oh, by the way, we're joined by Digo here. He's another one of Topher's panda friends. Digo is always having his bamboo with him. So those connection flights, the 24-hour international flight, you can actually spend 23 and a half hours in Tokyo, and it doesn't cost you anymore. So that's something to know about connections. Okay, so we are going to go on to word number 4, but before I do that, I'm going to drink. And people like to know what I drink in these live streams. Today, I'm just drinking some water, but it's out of this nice mug. It's a glass mug, and it's a double-walled mug, so this keeps the water very, very cold for a long period of time. Brandon Torres says that he's been hearing fireworks from where he lives, which means he probably lives in the United States. So Brandon, I hope so. David M comments and says, "No In-N-Out. I did not have In-N-Out today. We actually barbecued hot dogs because it was July 4th." And but I do have a little bit of Coke too. In this other slightly less festive cup. All right, so now we are going to go on to number 4. Topher, what's word number 4?
Illegal connection.
Okay, word number 4 is illegal connection. And so this is kind of an interesting phrase because you might be wondering, what makes an airline flight, bye-bye Digo, what makes an airline flight illegal, or what makes a connection illegal? And a connection that is illegal is one that is less than the airline's minimum connecting time for an airport. Every airport has a connection time that they set. So if you're going through London Heathrow, an airline might set a minimum connection time as 1 hour. But you can still book the flights that have a connection time of less than an hour. You could book a 45-minute flight, but those will often be flagged as an illegal connection. And if you take one of those, the airlines will often be not too understanding if you end up missing your flight, because they'll say, well, we told you you shouldn't have booked that flight anyway. So term 4 is illegal connection and minimum connection time. Okay, Topher, we're going to go on to number 5. What's word number 5, Topher?
Stopover.
Word number 5 is stopover. So a stopover is something that you can book specifically when you're booking a ticket. And this is, say you're going Los Angeles to Beijing through Tokyo, but you want to stop there for more than 23 hours. A stopover is considered a stop that is basically longer than a connection. Some airlines will include stopovers in their base fare. Other airlines, you'll have to pay an additional maybe $100 to stop someplace. But sometimes you can go someplace for cheaper if you're booking a ticket farther and then stopping over someplace. Interesting ways that the airlines compete. And I did that once, actually, on a trip to Beijing, as a matter of fact. Tickets from LA to Narita were like $1,200 round trip on United. But tickets from LA to Beijing were $700 because United was just unveiling that route. It had really low ridership, but one of the routes you could take on that was connecting through Narita. So I did a stopover in Narita, paid the extra $100, so now the flight was not $700 but $800, still much cheaper than the over $1,000 that they wanted to go just to Tokyo. And I got a trip to Beijing too. So I want to welcome a few new viewers to the live stream. Gonzalo Wars, good evening. Darren Pennings, good evening. And before I go to the next word, I want to mention that I was at VidCon last week. Topher, when were we at VidCon? I think it was last weekend. And I got a cool subscribe pillow. Not this one. This one's an older subscribe pillow. But one of the things I want to mention, a lot of people ask, how do they hear about these live streams and when do they know they're coming up? Well, the thing I will encourage you to do is after you've subscribed is to ring the bell and become a bell ringer. Right where the subscribe button is, there's a little bell you can click. If you click on that, then you can get notifications. They'll come via email in your mobile app every time I publish one of these. And where's this bell from? It's from the Schiltorn in Switzerland, which are the videos that I'm uploading right now. Well, not right now because I'm doing this live stream, but the ones I'm uploading every Friday. Okay, I'm going to put that bell away because that might be kind of annoying. All right, let's go on to word number 6. Topher, what's word number 6?
Airline alliance.
Airline alliance. So this is a term you'll hear a lot in someone says, oh, well, I only like a certain alliance, or are they in the same alliance, or Terminal 3 is this particular alliance. So an airline alliance is a collection of airlines that all kind of work together, and you can connect from one airline in the alliance to another airline in the alliance, and they will also sell tickets on the other airline. We're joined by another Conrad Bear. I'll talk about the Conrad Bear when I'm done talking about the alliance. So there are three major alliances in the world. There's Star Alliance, my favorite since I'm a big United loyalist. There's Oneworld, which has American Airlines a part of it, and then there's SkyTeam, which has Delta Airlines as a part of that airline alliance. Something to pay attention to related to alliances are whether you're actually trying to earn miles. Like if you're trying to earn miles on United, sometimes the alliance flights don't actually count as credit on United. It's sort of hokey that they allow you to book the ticket, but then if you're in a certain fare class, you don't get any miles. This new animal who joined us here, this is a Conrad bear from the Conrad in Macau. And I talked about these bears in my last live stream about the best hotels that I've ever stayed at. I really love the Conrad hotels. They're part of the Hilton chain, and Conrad is their highest hotel. This is another Conrad bear who came to join us right here. This is from the Conrad Hong Kong, another one of my favorite Conrads. Conrad hotels often also have rubber ducks that they put in the bathroom, but the ducks didn't join us with the bears right here. So I will put the Conrad bears back here with Topher. Don't be hogging his spotlight, guys. All right, and now we're gonna go to word number 7. Topher, what's word number 7?
Long haul flight.
Word number 7 is long haul flight. So a lot of airlines will say, well, they got regular flights and then they have long haul flights. This is a long haul flight is what they'll say. And a long haul flight is basically a flight that has considerable time, distance, and jet lag. I think those are part of the three combinations that really makes a flight a long haul flight. Some of the airlines will say, well, they're in the long haul market, but not the ultra long haul market. United Airlines just introduced service from San Francisco to Singapore, and they're introducing LA to Singapore, and those would be considered ultra long haul flights because they're basically at the limit of what modern airplanes can do today. And Danny Dam, thanks for joining the live stream, and hello. All right, we are now going to word number 8. Topher, what's word number 8?
Short haul.
Short haul flight. Word number 8 is short haul flight. And a short haul flight is the opposite of a long haul flight, as you could imagine. Short haul flights are ones that don't go very far. Typically, the budget and discount carriers of the world operate in the short haul flight market. Southwest Airlines in particular is one that is a short haul carriers. Typically airlines that are short haul carriers and even short haul flights. Ooh, Topher, are you eating chopsticks again? Oh, he likes his bamboo and he has to eat a lot. Short haul flights typically will have the least comfy chairs, no in-flight entertainment. For those who really enjoy luxurious air travel, it's often not on the short haul flights. All right, Topher, I'm going to give this back to you. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt your eating there to draw another one. Brandon Torres asked, how long does ultra long haul mean in terms of time? You know, Brandon, that is a great question. And when I looked it up, I did not find a definition of how much was ultra long haul. But I think the ultra long haul ones are typically the ones that need specially modified planes to operate. Like Singapore Airlines from LA to Singapore was operating a specially modified plane only with business class for that particular ultra long haul route. So you could certainly imagine those are the ultra long haul flights. Okay, we're going to go on to word number 9. Topher, what's word number 9?
Open jaw.
Word number 9 is open jaw. So this is an interesting term that I think sometimes a lot of people haven't heard of, and I'm not talking about this jaw, but an open jaw is one in which you have a ticket that you depart from a different airport than the one that you landed. Okay, so I'm gonna erase this and I'm gonna draw a visual aid because I think this is better with a visual aid, and this is useful to have these whiteboards too. So let's say you are leaving here from city. Wow, I need to not have the light in the reflection. Let's say you are leaving here from city A and you are taking a flight up here to city B. But then you want to fly back from city C back to city A. So an open jaw would be you have a flight from A to B and then you have a flight from C back to A. There's no flight between B to C, and that's something that you basically have to figure out how you get there. Something else to know about open jaws is they have to be within the same region. So that might be Asia 1, Asia 2, North America. That's where these two flights have to be in. And the distance between these two cities has to be shorter than the difference between A to C or A to B. I often fly open jaws. We often fly open jaws when we go into a lot of countries that we travel to because it's pretty convenient. Say you're going to Tokyo, you fly into Tokyo, you come back from Osaka, and it really doesn't cost you anything else because a lot of times open jaws are included in ticket prices. Danny Dam asks, is an open jaw similar to multi-cities? So you would often use the multi-city search to book an open jaw, but an open jaw might price differently than a multi-city itinerary because multi-city itineraries might also be ticketed as what we're going to have in the next definition. So I won't give that away yet because I think we've got another animal who's going to join us here. This animal is one of our dressiest animals. His name is Shun Bao Bao, and he has a bow tie right here. We have a considerable amount of polar bears, which don't really join us on a lot of our travels, because polar bears need places that are really, really cold. But Shun Bao Bao, and Topher get along, because Topher is always attired in his finest black and white tuxedo. And Shun Bao Bao, well, he's got his finest bow tie right here. So Shun Bao Bao, thanks for joining us. And I'll pass this off for the whiteboard to ask Topher, what's number 10?
Split ticketing.
Number 10 is split ticketing. So split ticketing is when you buy potentially a round-trip fare with 2 one-way tickets or multiple one-way tickets to make up your journey. Topher, are you eating again? Topher's eating again. Sorry, I just can't stop Topher from eating. Maybe I should drink while Topher's eating. So, when you are doing split ticketing in those multiple cities, if you're doing that, the airline might price it out as a bunch of different one-way flights. And so sometimes calling the airline and asking if they do open jaws or what the cost of an open jaw is, they'll often have specific fare rules. If you take a look at a fare, the fare rules or fare details, it'll tell you how much open jaws are, how much stopovers are, and so this is kind of the creative things in ticketing that if you're booking directly on the airline website, that not all of them will actually do it for you. There's also another one that I'm kind of going to mention that I don't mention in this list of 20, but it's also called hidden city ticketing, and this is one where potentially you might have booked one of those flights I talked about earlier that was a direct flight, but turns out it stops someplace, and it's like a hidden city that you might actually want to go to that city, and you're just going to get off on the flight before it gets to its final destination. And sometimes that is cheaper. But if you do that and you get off a flight before your final destination, the airline will typically cancel any other tickets you have in that same reservation. So that is something to be mindful of. I'll say I personally, when I'm doing a long trip, I like to have all of my flights in one reservation, in one ticket, because when I have them all in one reservation, one ticket, then if anything goes wrong on previous legs, it's very easy for me to work with that same airline to adjust the other tickets. If I don't have it all in the same reservation, then they don't really understand that I have to adjust other tickets. So those are things to be careful of if the things are booking out as separate tickets. And by the way, if anybody has any questions for Topher specifically, like how old is Topher, or what is Topher's favorite food, or what is Topher's favorite country, go ahead and ask those questions, because today is probably a limited opportunity for Topher to be such a feature in this video. All right, we're going to go on to number 11. Topher, what is our 11th frequent flyer lingo?
Red-eye flight.
All right, our word number 11 is red-eye flight. And so I will say I dislike red-eye flights. A red-eye flight is a flight that is typically an overnight flight. You'll find definitions on different websites and different places. People will often say it's a flight that's defined as leaving after 10 p.m. but before 6 a.m. But it's typically a flight that it's overnight and you're not going to sleep well, and because you're not going to sleep well, your eyes are going to be tired, and that's why they call it a red-eye flight. I, for one, can't sleep worth a darn on airplanes, and so that's why I don't really like red-eye flights. I also don't really like international flights that leave California at night and arrive in Europe or Asia in the morning, because I just get there and then I have 12 or 14 hours before I can sleep, and a number of hours before I check into the hotel. We are joined by another one of our animals here. Now, I said we had a lot of polar bears, and I said we had a lot of pandas. This guy right here is a polar bear that is in a panda costume. See, he's got a panda costume right here. We don't remember his name. We gave him a name when we bought him, but we're not sure what it is anymore. So, if anybody has a good name they'd like to name this animal, let us know. Anthony Carrick says, I'm doing a red-eye coming back from Singapore, leaves Changi at 11:10 p.m. That is a late flight. I don't like those flights, because then you have to spend your whole day. You don't get to shower. I mean, hopefully Singapore is a pretty good airport for showers and things like that. So you might be able to shower in one of the lounges there. I hope so. So before we go on to the next word, Topher, you have a question from YouTube.
I do?
Yeah, you do, Topher. So, Topher, Brandon Torres wants to know, who are your favorite panda friends?
Digo.
Digo? Which one's Digo? This one, Digo, right here. Topher's really been talking about wanting to go to Chengdu, because that's where pandas are from. We just have to have our little pandas here. But, Topher often sees a lot of pandas on Facebook, like on iPanda. I don't know if you follow iPanda. It's like a whole thing about like pandas from Chengdu. Topher, do you like those pandas from Chengdu?
I watch them all the time.
Yeah. All right. Brandon, thanks for asking that question. Any more questions for Topher? Topher's available. And he doesn't even charge any money. If you were to call like a 1-800-PSYCHIC hotline and ask a question, they would charge you quite a bit of money. Questions are free on the Yellow Productions Monday night travel show. Okay. By the way, have all of you rung the bell yet? Become a bell ringer. Okay, I just like ringing that bell. All right, so we are now on to number 12. Topher, what is word number 12?
Irregular operations.
Word number 12 is irregular operations. And so often you'll hear frequent flyers say things like, oh, well, I wouldn't go to Chicago. I wouldn't go through Chicago because Chicago's really bad during irregular operations. Or I was able to get a business class upgrade because they had irregular operations. Irregular operations is basically defined as Anytime the airline is not operating regularly, typically due to a weather or mechanical issue. And, a lot of people hate irregular operations because it leads to flight delays. I actually love irregular operations because it allows the sort of desk staff, the ticket staff at the airport to do almost anything they want you to get you where you're going. So you might say, hey, can you put me out of this different airport, or can you connect me through here, or can you put me on this kind of flight? Particularly if an airline is like United is offering a travel waiver to say, hey, we got a big storm, don't travel in right now, we'll let you rebook on our website for other flights. I always take that opportunity to rebook to other flights because when they do that, and either the website refares you or the agents rebook you, they can book you into full Y class, which can have higher upgrade percentages. You can earn more miles, and so I'll say take advantage of irregular operations. And it's just one of those things where, if your flight's delayed, just go up and ask. One of the things that I'll say I've always learned to do as well is, at the airports, if they say, okay, everybody just go in line and talk to this agent, the first thing I'll do is I'll go stand in the line, but I will also call the airline that I'm on directly and plead my case and ask them if they can help me. And often they'll help me quicker than before I get to the front of the line. All right, Topher, you have a couple more questions before we get on to the next word. Okay, Topher, your next question is from Gonzalo Wars. And Gonzalo Wars asked, Topher, have you ever been to the Ueno Zoo?
No, I've only been to the San Diego Zoo. Well, that's actually where I'm from.
Yeah.
I'm from San Diego Zoo.
Right.
Where's Ueno Zoo? Ueno Zoo, Tokyo.
Tokyo.
I've been to Tokyo.
But we haven't been to the zoo, have we?
No, we need to go.
Yeah, Gonzalo, have you been to the Ueno Zoo? If so, do you think it's someplace that Topher should visit?
I think we should.
Yeah, well, we'll have to put that on our agenda for our next visit to Tokyo. Topher, what do you want to see at the Ueno Zoo?
Panda.
Pandas! Gonzalo, are there pandas at the Ueno Zoo? Okay. Brandon Torres comments and says, love the Switzerland videos. So, look forward to lots more Topher in the Switzerland videos. And Topher, you have another question. Are you ready for it, Topher?
I'm ready.
All right. Topher, Jake McShane asks, do you get your own seat when you fly?
I want to, but Chris is kind of cheap.
What? I'm cheap.
He puts me in the overhead bin.
Well, I mean, maybe. Sometimes you're under the seat, too. You're usually very protected in my backpack. So.
I think it's because you're cheap.
Okay, it might be because I'm cheap. You're right, I am cheap. And speaking of being cheap, that's a great lead-in to my live stream that's going to be next week, Monday, July 10th. I'm going to be talking about how I travel for cheap. And I might say something catchy like 10 different ways or 15 different ways, but I haven't wrote the script, so I'm not sure how many different ways I travel for cheap. But that's
put your
what I'm going to be talking
panda
about.
in the overhead bin.
Oh, that'll be one of the ones. I put my panda in the overhead bin. Okay. Topher, you have another question, but Topher, we're not going on to the next word yet. We're going on to the next question from your fans. Chris Deagle asks, Topher, what's your favorite non-Asiatic travel destination? I guess it's your favorite travel destination that's not in Asia.
Italy.
Italy. Topher, what do you like best about Italy?
Food.
Food? Well, what part of the food?
Everything.
Everything?
And cappuccino.
Oh, cappuccino. The cappuccino in Italy.
Pasta.
Pasta. Do you have a favorite city in Italy?
Rome.
Rome. That's where Romans are from. I like Rome, too. All right, that's good. Gonzalo Wars responded to you, Topher. And I have to read this to Topher because Topher, he's a baby panda, so he can't quite read the comments that are coming in. Gonzalo Wars says they do have pandas at the Ueno Zoo.
Yay!
So we
I'm
have...
going.
All right. David M says panda in arms. Maybe, David, are you suggesting that I should carry Topher on the plane like this? You're right.
That would be a good idea.
That would be a good idea. So I'm not sure. Maybe, well, we can ask this question to Topher. D. Del Fiero says, I see you often review hotels and locations, but what are your favorite airlines? Plus, have you visited the Great Wall? Definitely go to Mu Tenyu over Badaling. What's your favorite airline, Topher?
China Airlines.
China Airlines? Why do you like China Airlines?
They have a lot
most?
of bamboo, a lot of chopsticks.
Ooh.
Good Taiwanese food.
Right, so for those who don't know, China Airlines is the airline that is from Taiwan and not mainland China. That is Air China instead of China Airlines. It's super confusing. So Topher likes the chopsticks and the Taiwanese food on China Airlines. Brandon Torres comments and says Topher deserves a seat. Brandon,
I agree.
Yeah, Topher agrees, and I think I'll probably have to get like a lot more viewers and have like sponsored videos or things like that before I can afford seats for Topher. And Topher might just say, "All right, I have to stop being cheap," which maybe I do.
Cheap.
Not cheap. Gonzalo Wars says you can get nice Topher plush cousins from the stores in and around the zoo. Yeah, Topher, we can get more panda cousins. All right, we should go. Topher, wait! You have to finish the live stream. You can't leave. Topher's out and about. But speaking of Tokyo, we got a couple of our Tokyo friends here. You might have seen these guys in some of our hotel reviews. These are Winnie the Poohs from Tokyo Disney. This is this up here says they're Winnie the Pooh. This is Winifred, and this is Freddie. They travel a lot with us, and we think they are the cutest Winnie the Poohs we've seen anywhere. Much cuter than the ones for sale in Disneyland here in the U.S., which is interesting that they sell different stuffed animals in Tokyo, but absolutely all the stuffed animals at Tokyo Disney are much cuter than the stuffed animals here in the U.S. Wow, you guys are really high in this video. All right, Danny Dam comments on YouTube. Started to watch your Japan videos and love them. It helps me plan. I'm heading to Tokyo for a few days before boarding a 10-day cruise around Japan. Wow, Danny, that sounds really interesting. Thanks for saying that our videos helped you plan your trip. I'm curious, where are you going in your 10-day cruise around Japan? Where's that start and where's that go? It sounds interesting. Let's see. Anthony comments and he says that surprised that United wasn't chosen. Well, Topher's favorite airline is China Airlines. Chris's favorite airline is United Airlines. But it's the airline that I'm the most loyal to. I don't know that I would say United is actually my favorite. My favorite airline is probably, I'm going to say Singapore Airlines. I think they have the best service and the best food, particularly if you're in business class on Singapore Airlines. David M. comments that you can always have the gate agent print you a panda in arms boarding pass. Ooh, yeah, because I guess you can do that with like an infant in arms, right? So I just have to make sure I tell them how old Topher is, which is like 2 seconds old. He's very young. Zany joined and said, "Hi Chris, I'm Zany. I enjoy your videos a lot." Zany, thank you for joining. And it's amazing you're Zany since your name is Zany. Scottman895 Travel comments and says, "Good evening, Scottman895 Travel." That's not what he says. I'm saying that to Scottman895 Travel. And he says, "Although I'm a little late, I'm glad I can join in for once." Scottman895 Travel, I'm glad you could join in too. I am halfway through our list of 20, so you've got plenty of time left. And Zany asked, "Where are you going, Chris?" I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm right here with the live stream for you guys. The videos I'm publishing right now are Switzerland. I think probably my next interesting upcoming trip will be to Las Vegas sometime here in the future. And Anthony comments and says he's going on Singapore Airlines. He's looking forward to it. Anthony, I think you will enjoy it. All right, I'm going to bring the Freds down to bring Topher back. Topher, where'd you go? Topher, come back. Topher. Sorry, Topher's doing a wardrobe change. Wow, that Zany asks, will you come to Hong Kong in the future? Zany, I hope to come to Hong Kong in the future, but I'm not sure exactly when that'll be, but I definitely do want to come back to Hong Kong. Topher's got his new sombrero here. Topher, where did we get this sombrero from?
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, right. So we got this sombrero from Scottsdale, Arizona, which are some videos I still have to work on to upload. But there's a big kind of like Mexican town, Mexican gifts and things like that. And this was just the perfect size for Topher's hat. All right, Topher, our next word, number 13, is
Bump.
bump. This is a word that has been in the news a lot lately with the doctor who got bumped from United Airlines. A bump is basically when you are bumped from a seat or bumped from a plane. You had a seat, you had a ticket, you thought you had a spot on the plane, but they bumped you. There are two different types of bumps. There's what they would call VDB and IVDB. Those are not diseases. VDB stands for voluntarily denied boarding, and IVDB stands for involuntarily denied boarding. So if you are bumped and you volunteer, there's a certain tier of money the airline will give you. But if you're involuntarily bumped, meaning you didn't have a choice, then the airlines are typically required to give you even more money. One of the things I will say about being bumped, not a lot of people know this, if the airlines are bumping people, they'll often bump, we found out United often bumps people who have the cheapest fare class, but they'll also bump people in order of when they checked in. And that actually happened to me before a plane was weight limited out of Key West. I waited to check in at the airport. I got there kind of late. I was the last person to check in, and because I was the last person to check in, I was involuntarily denied boarding. I got like $600 from Delta and then took the next flight in 2 hours. But I didn't have a choice. They just said, you don't get to go nowhere. And I was like, well, why me? And I'm like, well, you were the last person to check in. So that's something to know about bumps. Gonzalo Wars, Topher, commented and said, El Topher. Probably like El Jefe. Yes. Ooh.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. Scottman895 Travel says, I look forward to your Scottsdale videos. I went there a few years ago and I enjoyed my visit there. We enjoyed our visit there too. I'll probably get to edit those somewhere in the middle of my Switzerland stream here. Zany asks, what country will you travel to next? Topher, I don't know. Do we have a country that we've decided to travel to next?
No, but we have a long list of countries to go to.
Yeah. What's on that list?
We need to go to Korea.
Korea? To eat kimchi?
And Peru.
And Peru, which is non-Asia. So we do travel to non-Asiatic countries. Those are two that are on our list. We don't know if they'll be the next that we'll go to, but those are a couple. Brandon Torres comments and says, Topher, you are looking good in the sombrero.
I know. Thank you.
He is very humble, I must say. Gordy44 says, have you ever heard of business class getting bumped if it's an award ticket? No, I haven't. Typically, if you're in business class and they have an issue, then they'll not bump you off the plane, but they might bump you up to first class. I've never heard of an award ticket getting bumped back into economy or things like that. Typically, once you're in business, you're in business. And Anthony Kurnich says, come to Australia. So we hope to do that sometime. Topher really wants to see the kangaroo and the other bear.
Koala bear. And
the koala bears. All right. So then before we go on to our next one, so D. Del Fiero says, speaking of sombreros, Topher, since you're based in San Diego, Southern California, how about some Mexico visits? I wonder...
We've been there. I love it.
Yeah. Where did we go in Mexico, Topher?
Tijuana.
Tijuana? Where else did we go?
I forgot the name.
Okay.
We went to Baja California.
Yeah, Baja California, right? Then we went to Ensenada. Ensenada is the home of the famous fish taco. A lot of the fish tacos around Southern California come there. Oh, and there's fish tacos. I don't have this drink for dinner, but speaking of fish tacos and Baja fish tacos, this is what I had for lunch today. If you come to Orange County in particular, there's a chain called Baja Fish Tacos. I think it has the best fish tacos everywhere. And the fish tacos in Southern California, Ensenada, are the best you get anywhere. But Topher, we went. Your bro here went with OC Girl on our honeymoon to
I forgot the name.
Cabo San Lucas, or
I can never remember that.
Yeah, San Jose del Cabo. It's one of my earliest videos. If you look back in my stream, a long time ago, you'll probably find a Cabo San Lucas video. All right. Topher probably would like the lobster.
I want to go to Mexico City.
He wants to go to Mexico City. Why do you want to go to Mexico City, Topher?
I want to see the festival.
The festival.
That looks like skeletons.
Oh. It's like the day
in the movie.
Yeah.
007.
Right, the Day of the Dead festival.
That's right.
There was that James Bond movie. It was like one of the last two 007s that had this whole opening scene that was in like the Day of the Dead parade, which was super awesome. So Topher's excited to see that. And one more response before we go on. Danny Dam responded when I asked about the cruise in Japan that Danny's going on. Danny said the cruise starts in Yokohama, visiting 5 other ports. Some of these ports I haven't heard of. Number 1, Kushiro. Number 2, Shiritoko Peninsula. Number 3, Korsakov, Russia. Number 4, Otaru. Number 5, Hakodate. Number 6, Aomori. So you're going up to Hokkaido, which is the northern island.
I like Otaru.
Yeah.
Best sushi ever.
We have a video on Otaru, so take a look for that. We were in Aomori Prefecture.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I don't know if I made a video on that one though, but we definitely have one on Otaru. I think that was where we had the really good melons in Japan. Right, that was like the really expensive melons. I think were up there. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're gonna go on to number 14 now. Word number 14 is
S.
Wow. This is 4 S's. Is this a word? So 4 S's. This is something that you might see on your boarding pass when you go to the airport, and I've seen it on my boarding pass a couple of times. The 4 S's stands for selected for secondary security screening. So if you ever get a boarding pass that prints out 4 S's on it, then you know that you are going to be almost say given the cavity search. So this is obviously in the US that these boarding passes print out, and this is the kind of search where the TSA agent will let you know that they're going to put their hand on your leg and slide it up until they meet resistance. This is one of those things where like the TSA agent was like, yeah, hey, I really appreciate your being easygoing with this. And I responded and I said, look, I realize that it's your job to do this and you probably don't enjoy it any more than I do, because I can't imagine giving people cavity searches. It has to be fabulous. So, David M says, aren't you TSA pre-check? You shouldn't get the 4S. That would make a lot of sense. But if you travel as much as I do, I'm TSA pre-check, I'm global entry, all these things, I have still gotten the 4S's. One of the times I got the 4S's was when I was going to Las Vegas from Washington, D.C., and I was on one flight, say with United, and the flight was canceled, delayed, and I contacted my travel agent who changed my ticket to Delta Airlines, leaving in 30 minutes, and I was checking in no luggage. And so my guess is that flagged as, you were on this flight, you changed to this one, and you don't have any bags. Actually, my bags were still in the other flight, which met me in Las Vegas. All right, that's our 4 S's. I think we have another friend who's joining us here now. This friend right here, this is one of our rabbit friends. His name is Fei Fei, and if any of you speak Chinese, the way you say airplane in Mandarin is Feiji, and so I often call Fei Fei the Feiji. He's the airplane because he's got these like really big ears, kind of like Dumbo, that he could like fly around. But Fei Fei, much like Shan Bao, who has wandered off, is also very dressy, and so he gets along well with Topher because he's got his bow tie right here.
And we're going to adopt a rabbit soon.
We're gonna adopt a rabbit soon, so Topher says. Topher's really been wanting a rabbit. Well, actually, I don't know if it's Topher. I think it's Fei Fei who wants a real rabbit brother. For those of you who are like on Instagram, if you've ever heard about Example is this bunny rabbit that's on Instagram, and Example has like 1 million followers on Instagram. And it always makes me feel like I really need to do a better job, or I need to have more bunny rabbits on my travel shows that a bunny.
Here I am.
Yeah, all right.
Have
That's right. So maybe we'll have more Fei Fei, and then I'll have 1 million followers, just like Example. All right. So let's go on to our next word. This is number 15. Topher, what is it?
Mileage run.
Number 15 is a mileage run. This is whenever I sort of do interesting talks about myself for people who don't know me. They say share an interesting thing about yourselves. I say that I often do mileage runs, and then I ask the question if people know what a mileage run is. If I'm just with a random group of 30 people, inevitably there's usually one or less people that know what a mileage run is. So a mileage run is basically on an airplane trying to go the furthest for the least amount of money, often typically for the express purpose of just earning mileage or earning elite qualifying status. That's actually one of the reasons I go to Singapore so often, is Singapore is the farthest you can go regularly from Southern California. The flights are 8,300 miles, and United often has tickets for like $600 or $700 round trip from LA. And then part of a mileage run means that you're not going to like stay there for like a week. Mileage run, you got to like turn around pretty quick. I think the shortest I've been someplace like Singapore was maybe 30 hours. I'm not that crazy to turn around in like 2 hours and come back. I have thought about it, but then I've decided I'm like an old man, and I need my beauty sleep in a bed or mattress. Okay, Topher, before we go on to the next word, D. Del Fiero asks, since you like both Hawaii and Japan so much, is Okinawa an option in the future? Topher.
I want to. I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, Okinawa would be pretty cool. We like Okinawan food, particularly like the purple sweet potato is really popular from Okinawa.
Bitter melon.
Ooh, bitter melon. Yeah, I think that's one of Topher's favorites. I don't know. I'm still kind of like acquiring the taste for the bitter melon.
Okinawan food tastes like Taiwanese food.
Yeah, so Topher likes that because all the animals have a little bit of Taiwanese in them. D. Del Fiero also asks, what is your in-and-out regular order? And D. Del Fiero says theirs is double animal protein style and fries well done animal style. Fries well done animal style, double animal protein style, so wrapped in lettuce.
Chris has a really weird thing with In-N-Out.
What's my weird thing with In-N-Out?
It's extra double everything.
Yeah, more or less, right. So I go to In-N-Out and I get a double, no onions, extra everything. And so extra everything, there's actually a button on the cash register. It's the XE button, and that comes with extra lettuce, extra tomato, extra spread. The button used to be triple X, XXX. I guess there were too many people saying that was X-rated. And I know I go to In-N-Out Burger too much when I know the cash register better than they do. Like when I say extra everything and the people behind the cash register look at me with starry eyes and I say, there's a button. It's right about over here. Topher, what do you like to get from In-N-Out Burger?
Protein style.
Protein style. Do you like the animal style fries?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what the animal-style fries at In-N-Out Burger are, you're really missing out. And if you come to Southern California or any place there's In-N-Out, California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, you would think I'm sponsored by them, but again, I'm not yet. I should be sponsored by them. I should be. I'm probably one of their best customers. But
If In-N-Out, if you're listening to this,
right, maybe if anybody knows anybody who works for In-N-Out corporate, let them know. So, what was I saying? You ever have this thing where your mind just goes blank? I definitely have a thing where mine goes blank. Right, animal-style fries. So they take the fries, they they take 2 slices of cheese, they melt the slice of cheese on top, they then put Thousand Island dressing, and they put grilled onions, and they serve it with a fork. To some people, it might sound gross at the beginning, but order it and try it out, and then I think you'll change your mind as to whether it's gross. Gonzalo Wars, Topher is asking you, how does a panda bear avoid jet lag?
I sleep the whole time. I sleep 23 hours a day.
That is impressive. Topher sleeps quite a bit. And I think the other thing that we do when we get to another country, like if we get there in the morning, we just try to walk as much as possible. And this is Topher's feet walking, he's got little feet, and tire ourselves out. We don't really, when we get to a place, we don't really believe in naps. We just kind of get there, power through it, and then try to go to sleep once it gets dark. Even if that might be an early sleep, like 7 or 8 in the evening, we don't do like the 2 o'clock nap, because then we'll just never get to bed again. Well, Topher might, but his brother, Chris, wouldn't. All right, we're on to word number 16. Topher, what's word number 16?
CPM.
CPM. So this word goes along with the mileage run word. And so the way that you basically know that you're getting the best deal on a mileage run is you look at the cents per mile. And so if you go to the like Flyer Talk mileage runs forums, they will typically post the flight, and then they'll also post how many cents per mile that is. So you take the total cost of the flight, and then you divide it by the miles. It is slightly complicated, because when we get into the miles, which will be in a couple of words, there's a lot of different miles. Okay. You know, one of the things I found out about doing this live streams, now that I'm at minute 53, is my voice gets tired and I go through a lot of water. Danny Dam asks, do you think you would consider visiting Cambodia and or Vietnam one day?
Yes, I love pho.
Topher loves pho. We eat at a lot of Vietnamese restaurants. Maybe Vietnam before Cambodia. I've seen some interesting travel videos from Cambodia about it being, what's the word I'm looking for? It's authentic, a nice way of putting it. Maybe it wasn't Cambodia. Where was it? No. Myanmar, Burma. Right. Anthony Bourdain, he went to Myanmar, Burma, and it was like the train had to stop 15 times before he got to his destination because they had to like replace wheels because it fell off. So I think that's not as bad as Cambodia. Cambodia is where there's like Angkor Wat, which I think would be cool to visit. I don't know. Maybe if there's cheap flights, maybe we would. Probably Vietnam above Cambodia though, so we can have lots of delicious pho from the source of pho. All right, we are on to number 17. 17. Topher, what is 17?
Hard product.
Number 17 is hard product. People who are frequent flyers will talk about airlines and aircraft, and they will speak of the hard product. And they will say the hard product is very good, or the hard product could use some work, or the hard product is dated. So what is the hard product? The hard product of an airline is its physical offering, the things that they're hard, like the things that you can touch and feel. This is hard, so that would be the seats in the airlines. That might even be the lounges. It could be the bathrooms. Just the physical things that instantiate the airlines are considered the hard product. And so this brings us to word number 18, Topher. Word,
Soft product.
word number 18 is soft product. So soft product is the opposite of hard product. So if somebody says, well, you know, I like ANA, their hard ANA, All Nippon Airways. I like ANA. Their hard product isn't very good because their seats don't lie completely flat. But I really like their soft product. That means they like the customer service. That means maybe they like the boarding process. They like the experience. They like the flight attendants. They like the food. So that's the soft product. And one of the things I will say, and I've probably had this rant before on my 13 Reasons Why United Airlines is lame, is it is typically Asian airlines have a much better soft product than US or European carriers do. And I mentioned Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines is probably my favorite for their soft product. And I also love the outfits that the Singapore Airlines stewardesses wear. All right, we're going to go on to number 19, but we have another animal who's going to join us. He's very big, so he couldn't come up on the table. This animal here, you've seen him, if you follow me on Twitter, he kind of looks like this. He's in my profile picture. This is Pingy. He is a very large emperor penguin from Costco. If you were to come to our house, you might not find a guard dog, but you would find a guard penguin. We put Pingy at the front door to hopefully scare everybody away that would come over to rob us or kidnap any of our animals. And Pingy, he's a penguin, but somehow he doesn't stay quite warm enough, so he's got a scarf on him. All right, we are on our second to last word. We are on... Oh, actually, before we get to this word, there's a question, Topher. D. Del Fiero asks, has there ever been a trip hotel that went so bad that Topher wouldn't even mention it? Trip or hotel so bad that Topher wouldn't even mention it. Topher's looking puzzled right now. I guess I'll say for hotels, the ones that we don't mention are probably the hotels that are boring, that we don't think anybody would be very interested in watching a review of. I don't think we've ever been to a place that wasn't so bad that we weren't willing to make a video about it. I don't know. I mean, I guess there probably is one place.
There's one I went with OC Girl.
Yeah? Where'd you go with OC Girl?
We went to New Jersey and the hotel didn't clean their bathroom nicely. It
No.
was kind of gross.
That is kind of gross. Yeah, Topher and OC Girl have a pet peeve about hair in bathrooms, which is kind of funny for an animal that's really hairy. But that was outside New York. We've also had some interesting adventures in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which we've been there, and we haven't done any videos on Albuquerque. And actually, I don't think we shot any videos in Albuquerque because there just wasn't a whole lot in Albuquerque to make a video on. Not because it was awful, but because there just wasn't much to show or say. So I think that's that one. All right. Word number 19. Topher, are you sleeping on the job over there? What is it, Topher?
Miles.
Miles. All right. So everybody's probably heard of the term miles, but we're going to talk about a few different types of miles. And really, miles in the airline industry has become super confusing now because back in the day, a few years ago, you would board a flight and you would earn a certain number of miles. And that was it. That was the end of the story. But now the airlines have divided the miles that you earn in different categories, like actual miles, premier, elite, qualifying miles, and award miles. So the actual miles will be distance, how far the flight actually goes. So if you see that, that's how far the flight goes. The premier or elite miles, that'll be how many miles you earn towards your premier or elite status. And then award miles, that'll be how many miles you actually earn that you can redeem on future flights. this has been really bad for the mileage runner. Particularly, I think the airlines want to avoid giving away lots of miles to redeem for people who buy really cheap tickets, which is why they do things to, if you spend less money on the tickets now, you ultimately earn less award miles. But I guess where it does reward people is it rewards people who buy a lot of business class tickets or a lot of first class tickets, because those things earn a lot of miles. We are coming up on our 20th word, which will probably take about a minute. And so I'll say, if you have any final questions for Topher, ask them now, because we're going to be wrapping it up here. And Topher says he sleeps about 23 hours a day, so we're coming up on his bedtime. He needs to rest up for his next video. So Topher, what is frequent flyer travel term lingo vocabulary number 20?
FOC.
FOC, with a smiley face in it. And this is an actual term that people use on a lot of the frequent flyer message boards. It is called fear of coach. Coach being economy. And so fear of coach, it is the dreaded disease that you get when you have traveled way too much in business class, in first class. You get upgraded all the time, and you're just really afraid of ever flying in coach again. I will say that Topher and I are sometimes a little afraid of coach. Having been a United frequent flyer quite a bit, I at least need my economy plus, and if I don't get that, then I am quite afraid. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the video. If you made it this far, 61 minutes in, I really thank you for watching, because what I will say, for those of you that are still here, and there's 9 of you still here watching the live stream, there might be others of you watching the archive. Having just come back from VidCon last week, the thing that I realized is what makes this channel possible is actually not Topher and I, but what makes this channel possible is you. You right there that are watching this video, and you that left the comments, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have a live stream. If we came on and there were 0 people watching, there wouldn't be a show. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you for all the positivity. It's really great. You know, VidCon people talk about how awful the internet is and how YouTube is full of trolls, but I will say you all that watch Yellow Productions in these live stream are an excellent community. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your continued patronage. And Danny Dam, thank you. David M, thanks for joining. Scottman 895 Travel. You do need to come to VidCon next year. If you come, I'll see you there. Tickets are on sale already. Gonzalo Wars, thank you very much. Brandon Torres, thanks for the stream. We'll see you next time too. So Topher and I are going to say
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Happy July 4th.
Happy July 4th. Dunk.